All right, hey traders, TG Watkins here. I'm back on it again with you guys in the Moxie room. And for those of you out there on the social medias, we got YouTube, Facebook, and X. Nice to see everybody. And yeah, this market's still kind of tumultuous. I think we're at a low. It does look to me like we are starting to put in a low and to bounce. So I've kind of been looking around. We took a trade this morning. I was expecting the market to kind of pull back a little bit. I looked for some support, didn't quite hold, but now it's come down here, tested 55.50 again, which looks like that's pretty much going to be support. And now I want to see if the SPX can get past the 15-minute 50. So if you guys bear with me, I'm kind of looking at this. I almost want to put that trade back on again, but if I can get one more pullback in from here, because so far, if we look at the 2-minute, we've really just kind of had a move up, not a reversal, or like like a V bottom. I'm looking for another little test. And those of you in the Moxie room, you guys can kind of see based on what we spoke about this morning that of what I'm looking for. So if you look from yesterday, you see how price came up here to the 21, and we're here again at the 21. So if we can get any sort of pullback, I think that would be reasonable to try another sort of trade. Of course, put credit spread probably decent. In fact, I think that put credit spread is basically back to where we exited. Let's see if I have that pulled up. Yeah, it's about back to where we exited. So that would be interesting to jump in that again, but I'd love to see just a little bit of a dip in through here. So again, yeah, those of you in the social medias, if you guys want to kind of follow along and see what we are up to, this is what we do. So if we could then switch over to FNGA. So with the Moxie crew, I wanted to show you guys this. As I said, we were expecting a little bit of a pullback, and we've gotten it. They've held up pretty well. As I said, everything is kind of proportional. So we have been seeing FNGA, which is the leveraged ETF of the FANG stocks, continues to move up, even though the S&P is basically double bottoming down like this. And so that kind of tells me, I think that there is strength in there. Strength is trying to build in the market, even though the S&P is down like this. There was also, we in the Moxie room were talking about the news that there's more Canadian tariffs going tit for tat as far as this tariff war that's going on. And so that might have been a little bit of news to help grease the wheels to the downside, but same kind of deal that I think that we're trying to hammer out a low in through here. I'm seeing stuff like this that are up. Let's take a look at the IWM, see how that thing fared over the last few minutes. And as we get into, yeah, you can see here, this kind of looks to me like it's trying to do a double bottom in through here. It did the triple bottom over the last couple of days, but I think that it's retesting the low area. And if this does work, we have the Moxie indicator right here on the 15-minute time frame over 0. So that would be kind of the first inklings of a low in through here. And we've seen this before a couple times over the last few weeks, and none of them have been followed through. We kept hitting levels, bouncing a little bit, maybe even flagging a little bit, but just no follow through. And so that's really going to be what I'm looking for. Let's see, today's Wednesday. So if we could just start getting some follow through this week, I think that would bode well for most things. And so what we're seeing here is we're just looking for price to transition over the 15-minute 50 and actually start holding the 15-minute 50. Let me also then take a look at Tesla, since that's one of the ones that I've been kind of watching to look as a barometer. There is also some news about Tesla out there. It's kind of hard to know how much of that is true and how much it's going to follow through. But I think it is notable that even if we didn't know the news, you can see that Tesla basically washed out here and then on big volume. That generally looks like a buyable situation to me. Okay, follow the footprints, right? Yeah, Steve, nice. That's kind of what we're looking at too, is the retest of yesterday's low. We also had some gamma levels. So those of you out on the social medias, if you've heard anything about spot gamma or GEXPOT, there were some big nodes right here, and that basically acted as target for the market this morning. So now that that's been hit and that has been satisfied, I'm starting to see that they're called hero lines, basically the order flow for options. You can see that that's that blue line, and they are starting to turn back up like this. So option flow is starting to move positive. Let's take a look at what GexBot is saying. You can see the price of the market's been moved up. It hit that 55.50 level. That was one of the big nodes, and you can see that's moved up. NetGex still waiting for that to go positive. 56.50 is an upside target. I'm also wondering if we can really get going today. Maybe we could look at 5,700, but 56.50 seems to be the easier target. So let's kind of take a look in through here. And yeah, still kind of waiting for hopefully get with some sort of pullback in through here. I don't really want to be buying right up here at the third ATR and the 2-minute 50, also at the arch of the foot on the 5 minutes. So yeah, any kind of pullback would be fantastic. And then we can get in and hopefully we start moving someplace today. That would be awesome. That would be awesome. But yeah, Steven, glad you're doing well with those zero DTs and all that kind of stuff. That gap up here, you got a nice zero DT put to the downside. Great. Always love hearing people making some good trades in through here. Now, Steven, hopefully you looks like you cashed in on that. I would say let's see if we can transition now to the upside because I'm seeing Tesla's up, FNGA is up, IWM looks like it's bottoming. All these things are looking pretty good. Let me see about the internals in through here. We finally got the internals. They were looking good this morning. They were positive, and then they sold off a little bit right here, and now we're starting to see them kind of turn back up. And then the advanced decline, you can see everything basically gapped up because the market gapped up on the CPI numbers. But then you can see some weakness as they sold off, and now I'm starting to see some green again. And then you can see kind of the same path here for the ticks. Kind of came down, and now we're back up. So yes, hopefully that was a nice double bottom in through there. And just kind of looking for a decent spot to get in again on any of these names and positions. And then so at 56.50, that looks like a pretty easy target if we're going to just kind of transition for the day. So what I was talking to the Moxie crew about is, we still got to really kind of get past this 15-minute 50. So you can see here, price kind of came up at like this and then double bottomed. That's looking fairly constructive to me. Double bottom, moving average. And if we can get over it, maybe we head to 56.50, then we can kind of pull back again, find some support, and then maybe we can start moving higher into the rest of the week. And then if we come over here and kind of look at this situation, we can see that there's what I call an elf shoe starting to form here on the hourly chart. So again, those of you in the Moxie room, if you guys remember what I was talking about, here is our move down. That's the leg. There's the heel. Remember yesterday and today, there's the arch of the foot. And even this morning, I said, well, let's see if we come back down, retest the low area. That's going to be the ball of the foot. And then if we can move up like that, that would be our bigger move. If we really only today kind of gets transitioned, 56.50, I could see that makes sense. But if today turns into a bigger day, there's possibility we go up to 5,700 area because that might be roughly where the hourly 50 is. So I do think we hit the hourly 50 at some point. The question is it today? Is it tomorrow? Is it the next day? When is that going to be? Steven, yeah, you think, consumer sentiment's going to take us right back down? I don't know. The S&P has hit 10%. I mean, it made a absolute beeline for a 10% correction. So I would imagine, I thought it was, PPI is their consumer sentiment tomorrow is also, let me look at the economic calendar here, Thursday, just to see PPI, initial jobless claims. I don't think I see consumer sentiment. That looks like Friday, Michigan consumer sentiment. Maybe that's Friday. Okay. But, hey, we've got a cool CPI. I don't imagine PPI is going to be hot. Last month we had the PPI first and then CPI, which kind of helped warm things up. If you guys remember, we did this. Let me kind of zoom in here. And if we come over here on the 15, we had, let's see, where is it? I think it was right there. we had the market very much after, at a low, I think after December, and then finally got some January pullbacks like this. We had the PPI come out, and it was fine. It wasn't hot or anything else like that. And so you can see we jumped up like this, and we pulled back right there into the 15-minute 50, and then we had a cool CPI, and then you can see the market jumped on that. So I kind of feel like that's the same situation that we're getting here with the market. We had CPI first, then PPI. Again, I don't think PPI is going to be, it's really not that much of a, everyone's concerned about CPI, and PPI is going to kind of follow in line with CPI. So I think we are in this period right here of transition that I'm looking at for price to start to get over the 15-minute 50 and then follow the 15-minute 50 to the upside. And you can see it's the same kind of elf shoe situation right there on the hourly chart. So yeah, I'm looking at transition today. Maybe something gets going, but I'm not going to be banking on it. That's why I'm looking at for more of a put credit spread to get something going, and probably maybe top of the range, 5650, something around there. I'd be willing to take that. Okay. And I'm not sure if 5700 is in the works today. So let's see if we can just transition here, build a base, and kind of work from there. I'm going to keep an eye on this on my other screen because I think we're getting pretty close to a potential re-entry on something like this. If we can, again, you guys in the Moxie room know exactly what I'm looking for here. Yeah, trader, be nice. Yeah, you're a little quicker than me buying that low. Let's see, which one did you buy? Because like 55.60, I got to get my, everything's moved so much. I got to get my numbers. 55. Let's see, 55.60. Let's just kind of see what that's even worth and how much that moved. Yeah, something here. Yeah, about 60%, 70%, kind of somewhere in there. Yeah, that was a decent move off the low. Yeah, 55.90. Yeah, you're kind of getting out there. So let's see, 55.90. Yeah, let's see, kind of, probably got about 70, maybe 80% if you're able to get that. So not too shabby. I'm trying to see if I can get that with a put credit spread today. Yeah, Emil, I'm with you. I agree that it's mostly sideways, but I'm kind of looking for us to hold the sideways and kind of resolve upward a little bit on this. So I'd love to see a little bit of a pullback from this 2-minute 30 ATR, all that kind of stuff. And then you guys in the Moxie room know exactly what I'm looking at here on the 5-minute, right there at that arch of the foot. So leg, heel, arch of the foot. Let's see if we can come down, ball of the foot, and then we can move up there. If I get something like that, that's going to be that'll be a nice setup. So the question is kind of how long might that take? So let me see if I can actually get something configured. Let's see if we did that 55.80, we could try again with a 55.80 because then we could move up to at least 55.60. Yeah, let's do 55.80. Let me kind of get that reschedule. 55.80. Let's see what value that is. 55.60. So yeah, about that $7 again. If we do think this is going to move up, we could do the 55.60 or 5600 again and make back some of that. Let me kind of look what price is that. It's probably going to be the same price that we got out, so it's like it would be a nice wash for the day, and then we can actually make some on top of it. 5600 and 55.80. Yeah, about 9. Maybe we'll do that. And we'll see if we can pop up here. We'll maybe get 60%. And how are the internals? Yeah, the internals are looking pretty good. I think this is coming back up there nicely. All right. Maybe we kind of give that a shot. Oh, Emil. Okay. Yeah, sorry, man. You burned your fingers already? Well, that's why you just gotta, I don't know. I think it would be worth another shot because I do think things are turning back up again. They're looking pretty good. I just want to see if we can, maybe I wonder if we actually going to get that pullback. We may not. I would love to see price actually kind of pull back into the 2-minute 50. Let me look at my other. Let's see, IWM. Let me look at the lower time frame here. Yeah, I think I'm gonna wait. Oh, we got to see if we get any kind of pullback on this thing. Otherwise, that was a true double bottom or V bottom. You can see here, there's the elf shoe. Those of you in the Mox room, you guys see that? So we had price come down. There's the leg, there's the heel, there's the arch of the foot, right? 21, that's the ball of the foot. And then you can see right there, there's your elf toe. Sometimes they're pretty skosh when they go fast like that. Yeah, I think Tesla's looking good. You know, we're in that. We did a larger size on Tesla because I was like, okay, after trying a few times, I think this is finally it. So yeah, we went a little bit larger size on Tesla. Also, that volume that we were seeing on Tesla for the last 2 days, like that looks pretty good. I want to go follow those footsteps because somebody knows something out there, even if it's a little bit news based. That looked pretty good. And then we're in FNGA because, of course, if the market's going to move, everything's going to move. And FNGA is a good leveraged ETF that should give us some pretty good upside. All right, let's see. Yeah, it'd be great if we get a little pullback. I would hope that the S&P does not just keep following that 2-minute third ATR all morning. So it's a little extended on the 2-minute for me to want to jump in on that right this moment, but that's kind of what I'm looking for is if we can get anything, gosh, can we get something back down to 55.77 as a little bit of a pullback? Or is this thing just not going to give us the entry that I'm looking for? So I'm willing to give that a little bit of room. Let me put that on my other chart so I can watch it. And then let's go take a look at Tesla. All right, let me get my screen cleaned up here so I can better see price. Got to really zoom in on it with that 2-minute. There you go. But yeah, it looks like that double bottom is what the market needed, and nice turnaround for the day. But yeah, if we look at Tesla, if we come over here to lower time frames, those of you in the social medias, yeah, a lot of eyeballs. Nice, guys. Check out number one, all that volume. We had 2 really big days of volume, and we kind of had this flush out type move. So you can see here it's trend, and then just dump, and then reverse. And we went in yesterday on a pretty healthy position. So I forget if we got here or here, but basically in here. So yesterday, you know, being a stock trader with these kind of things, I don't need to be too precise on that stuff. Yeah, Emil. Yeah, the whole thing about Trump getting a Tesla yesterday. Yeah, it would have been nice. Maybe Trump came in there and bought Tesla stock. That would have been more fun for the rest of us. But yeah, this is looking pretty good. And then if we look at FNGA, yeah, this thing has been turning around. And for those of you on the social medias, the thing that I've been pointing out, and you can see also if you look at my X page where I do a lot of posting, I think I mentioned out there that the FNGA, which is leverage ETF of the FANG stocks, it actually double bottomed on Monday, even though the S&P continued to go lower. So basically, this first low, FNGA stopped going down. Meanwhile, the S&P continued lower, but the FNGA did a double bottom. That is a form of divergence. That's basically the market saying, hey, the rest of us don't want to go down any further. We're done. The market itself, SPX, continued going down because they needed to get that thing back down to 10%. I mean, they hit 10% on the dot and then reversed it. So I think it was both a magnet and a target, and then acted as support, and it just bounced right off of it. And then you can see yesterday we had FNGA up, even though the S&P also continued lower. So we're starting to see a level and then positive divergence compared to the S&P. So that is the thesis that I've been working with, and so far it's holding up nicely. And let's see, GDX, we'll kind of take a look at that thing. That's another one that we're looking at. And through here, so far so good. Really looking for a breakout. I'd love to see that thing continue to hold that 15-minute 50 as we were talking about before. Yeah, that looks nice. As long as that continues to hold, I'm going to be happy with it. All right, so as I said, I'm keeping an eye on the S&P off the corner of my eye. Is there anything else that you guys want to be looking at today? Since we got a few minutes left, kind of see if there's anything else. I'm still waiting for that pullback. So far, that V bottom has been pretty strong. So we'll see what we can do about that. Yeah, Emil, the whole thing about doesn't seem like traders care about the Canada increasing the tariffs again. Well, just remember, this news is now out there. We know that there's basically going to be a tit for tat going on with all of this, with tariffs, and it's kind of becoming old news. We know that, and the market's already pricing it in. Okay, the S&P basically took itself down straight. I mean, there were a couple of very tiny bounces in between, but basically went straight down 10%. Okay, so it was very much of a rip the band-aid off type situation. And so any kind of more bad news, it's like, well, this is just more of the same for now. And the market for now has built in enough cushion, I think, on the downside to kind of take care of that situation. All right, you can't eat my stuff. For those of you out on the social medias, I don't know if you've heard or seen the pictures on X, but we got 2 new kittens. And if anybody has pets, this is the first I've ever owned kittens. So this is a new experience for me. They're cute, they're fun, but there's a lot of, you got to kind of get them dialed in a little bit. So yeah. Anyway, I think the market overall is just very, very oversold. I'm looking for a relief bounce, and CPI seemed to help a little bit. 10% correction seemed to help a little bit. And maybe if we can get any kind of good, call it quote unquote good news about these tariffs, then we can get a little bit of a relief bounce. Otherwise, if it's kind of just more of the same, it's just more of the same. The market's factoring that in already. And that's why I'm also concerned that if we do get a bounce, we might continue to see lower. If you guys all know, we've talked about this kind of ad nauseum in the Moxie room. But if anybody out there we got a lot of eyeballs out there on the social medias. If you guys have not heard, we've got Besant and we've got Trump, we've got the Fed all saying they're going to let this thing go however it wants to go. Like Besant says, there's going to be a detox period, that the economy has been, we've been used to government spending, and that's where all the growth has come from, is from all the government spending. And he's like, yeah, we got to start working this thing back. We can't keep doing this. Trump says he's not watching the stock market. Obviously, we know that's a lie, but basically he's watching it, but he's not going to react to it. He's not going to suddenly turn tail and change his direction or whatever he's doing just because the market goes down 10%. Okay, we'll see maybe when it's 20% or 30%. We'll see if maybe he says something. And then the Fed has also come out. Jerome Powell said last week that he's like, the economy's good. Inflation's good. We're at a place that we're comfortable with interest rates. Yeah, I know that there's some turmoil with the stock market, but that's to be expected since the new administration is kind of doing all these crazy things. And he's like, we're good. I'm not going to change anything right now. So we don't have a Fed put. We don't have a Trump put. We don't have anything. So I think the market is kind of on its own for now. And everyone is kind of saying we are okay with whatever kind of noise might be coming in the future. Yep, Chris, that's kind of, I agree with you. Kind of hoping that at some point the up and down tariff will just become noise to the market. Yep, that's kind of what I'm saying. So that's what I think. Yeah, we'll see. I think for the most part, the worst of it's out of the way. Like, we know these tariffs are coming. We know that they're happening. The first round was March 2nd. The next round is going to be not April Fool's Day. I feel like that's how they should describe it, is not April Fool's Day. So they're going to do April 2nd for that. And yeah, there we go. Finally starting to get a little bit of that pullback that I am looking for right there. Finally. Okay. Yeah, Lori, Dems are selling shares and leaving town. No more insider trading by our elected officials. that may not just be the Democrats. We'll just be fair about that. But yes, you think about also what could be happening. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens to the unemployment number over the next few months as Doge kind of starts working into things. So I do think that there is that combination. You heard about the real estate prices in Washington D.C., right? There are a lot of homes for sale, and prices went down because basically the market got flooded. This is a little funny to watch. Whether Republican, Democrat, whatever, this is a little bit funny to watch to see how kind of. I hate to use this analogy, but like rats leaving a sinking ship. I'm not saying that we're a sinking ship, but basically they're shutting off the spigots, and they're cracking down on some stuff. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm. You suddenly see everyone vacating Washington. You're like, oh, okay, I see what's going on. So yeah, I think that's kind of what's going on here. Yeah. Anyway, we're finally starting to get a little bit of that pullback here. Yeah, I kind of thought you said oogling too, as far as the word. Let's do, yes, the gamma's back up here. So let's do that trade again. Okay, let's put that on again. Let's see. Trade alert, SPX, put credit spread. Oops, let's see, I need to copy it. And yeah, let's kind of see if that works. Okay, so basically same one. We got it for about $9.20. We got just that little bit of a pullback. Even if there's some noise in through here, I'm happy with that pullback. And now you can see this is it didn't quite pull back as much as I wanted to on the 5 minute, but hey, now we've got the 8 over the 21, and we have the Moxie indicator firing. So I'm probably just going to take what I can on that, and we'll see if that continues to work. We also now have price getting over the 5-minute 50. We have price getting over the 15-minute 50. So yeah, we'll see if this can do. And for those of you guys who day trade, sometimes you don't see something right or something else changes. If you see another setup, if kind of the overall thesis of what you're looking for is still panning out, you got to be okay. Maybe trying once or twice. Make sure you don't do too big of a size that you can't recover from something like that if it doesn't work. Even if you have to trade twice and you miss it twice, just make sure you don't ding yourself too much based on your size. I know the SPX is a little expensive or pricey too, and you can do the SPY or you can do the XSP. Both of those are 1/10 the size of the SPX. Yeah, Sonny, you could look at just a call, but they're really expensive. I'd hate to tell you to do that. You could do XPS or SPY if you wanted to do a call, but I'm a little bit concerned about the upside today. Remember, I'm kind of thinking today might be a transition period. We're really just trying to get over the 15-minute 50. We're trying to stop the 15-minute 50 from being in a downtrend to at least being flat and then going up. So I'm okay with today being a transition period. And what that means is I'm willing to sell a put credit spread with the idea that, looking at this gamma stuff, that maybe 5650 is an area. And if we can just kind of come up to our previous, like there's a level, and that's where that would be. If we could just kind of do that today, then that put credit spread would work. Yes, if you bought a long call, it would make money if you went up to the 5650, but you're going to have to, it's going to be kind of a short window, right? And you probably wouldn't pick something too far out of the money, so it's going to be a little expensive. You could do a call debit spread. So maybe you could pick something like a 5600 and sell the 5650 or the 5640, anything like that to kind of help lower the cost of it and basically just kind of grab any kind of move up towards 5650. So yeah, there are multiple ways to skin the cat if you wanted to do that. I'm kind of going a little bit more conservative here because I'm just not sure that today is going to be a big day. I could be wrong about that, but you can see here we're kind of mixed in through here, and I think it's going to be a little bit more of a transition in through here. The other thing is if we look, let's look at F and GA, and then I got to get going. F and GA. Nope. Oh, man. One of these days, these cats are gonna like order me 10,000 shares of something as they walk on the keyboard. Yeah, and you can kind of see in through here, I'm still wondering if we're gonna get a little bit more of a transition. You know, usually these things don't just go up like this. They kind of come up and then they pull back and then they kind of go like this. And so I'm preparing myself for more transition time and whatnot. So yeah, that's kind of my thought. I think we're building a base. It's probably going to be a little bit choppy. It's not going to be the smoothest ride to the upside until something really gets fired up. And hopefully we can start getting that kindling to light in through here. I'm seeing a fair amount of clues telling me that. Okay. All right, guys. Well, thanks again. For those of you in the social media stuff, remember I am doing a webinar on the 26th and the 2nd for a class that I'm putting on the 5th. So we're going to be teaching the Moxie indicator. Oh, Jesus. Wow. Okay. Well, that was funny. You guys just caught all that on camera. Yeah, that was the cat trying to climb me. So these little mischievous guys. Okay. That seems like a good place to end. Okay. I will see you guys later. Anyway, kind of start looking for stuff about the webinar that I'm going to be putting on the 26th. And that'll be the next something. We'll see you guys. Okay.